Okay, so first of all, I have to say that I'm really glad to be here to give this talk. I know that almost every presenter would say this before the talk begins, but for me it's really for this time because I was supposed to arrive last night already, but two out of my three flights were rescheduled, delayed, so I arrived like just half an hour ago, so just in time for my presentation. Yeah, it's really good for that. Yeah, and also, it doesn't like my Mac, so my Mac doesn't work. I have to use a backup PC. And I prepared a live demo, but probably won't have time, won't have opportunity for that. But maybe we don't even have time for that. But anyway, let's get started. So my topic today is bringing web components to Java realm. So how many of you are aware what components is? Okay, maybe 1/3, I would say. Yes, so let's get started maybe with what is web components. And also, by the way, I haven't checked because this is just, I generated this PPT file on the fly. I don't know if it really works or something is broken. Don't laugh at me if something weird happens. So technically, web components, it's a W3C standard, and under web components, there are four quite fundamental specifications or concepts. First is custom elements, second is templates, third is HTML import, and the fourth one is shadow DOM, and we will go through this one by one. First, let's look at this custom elements. Well, for custom element, as you can see, it's quite simple. Just like you can think of it as a new tag in your HTML. Like normally you have div, h1, or label, or input, whatever. Those are the standard HTML elements. But now with custom elements, you can have your own tag, and you can just put it there into your HTML, and the browser will just know how to render that, just like magic. So first, let's see how many of you have used this HTML5 data picker. Not so many. And how many of you were happy about that? None. Okay. So everybody was not happy with the standard HTML5 input. It's just not that user-friendly and not that good-looking for those who didn't like this input. Or data picker from HTML5, I have a good news for you because Vardian provides. Oh, sorry, one more slide. To use this HTML5 standard element, you just put this input type date. That's it. You will have this HTML5 data picker in your application. But as most of you said, you didn't really like that because it's not user-friendly, not beautifully designed. And luckily, there is a good news because Vardian provides a awesome, user-friendly, beautifully designed Vardian data picker, so that you can just put this tag into your HTML or into your web application, and you would have this data picker in your application. So the second concept is templates. Templates means that you have something inside your template. It will not be loaded when the page is first loaded, but it can be initialized later on at runtime. Like, for example, you have some image here inside your template. When the page first loaded, it will not download this image file. Instead, later on, if you really need this image, you can just initialize that dynamically. And this doesn't really maybe ring you a bell, like how this is related to web components. And we will have a slide later on to show how it is connected to web components. And the third one is about HTML imports. Well, it means that you can import some other HTML into your own HTML. And you can just think of this as the import statement in your Java class. I think that's quite comparable. And the next concept is shadow DOM. Shadow DOM is probably the most difficult concept to understand under these four specifications. So first, let's look at this HTML5 video tag here. This maybe nothing new to you, just you have a video here and you put some src there so that it knows where to find the video files, and you can also put some controls property there, so it will have some controls. So it's like something like this. You just put the video tag there, and you would have this video, and it would have some controls with you. So everything like magic. One tag, you have this. What is under the hood is that it's actually using Shadow DOM, so that if you enable your show user agent Shadow DOM, you are able to see that under this video tag, it has this shadow root. Under that, you can see there are many divs, input, etc. So there's really nothing new. It's still using the good old standard HTML element there, but this kind of internal low-level elements like input div are encapsulated inside this shadow root, so that's not available, not visible to the user, and the user shouldn't worry about that at all. It's only maybe the developer should be concerned about it, but not for the users. And the benefit of using web components is that, at least for me, it's all about encapsulation, so that, as you can see from previous video tag, the Shadow DOM, so everything is encapsulated inside that Shadow DOM. And with Shadow DOM, basically everything is encapsulated inside your own web components, so that it's really much easier to, much easier to reuse, so that you can just put the tag there and the browser knows how to render that. This sounds a quite promising technology. As probably you know, this is kind of a bleeding edge technology. At least for me, I think this would be the future of the UI, web UI. But let's see how does how do the browsers support such kind of a bleeding edge technology. Surprisingly, it looks quite promising. I think I just downloaded this image from the webcomponent.org some time ago, so it should be up to date. First, you can see that with Chrome, basically everything is green, and the same for Opera. And no surprise, because like Chrome or Google is like the company behind this Polymer and web components technology. And Opera is also all green, and with Safari, you can see it's almost all green as well, except this HTML import. It's like currently not implemented. It needs some polyfill, but this ES6 module is kind of another way of implementing this HTML import. So I would say that it's also all green for Safari already. And for Firefox, it's a little bit lagging behind, but it's also quite promising. It's green with a template, and it's also implemented this feature for ES6 modules. It just need to flip some flags there to enable this feature. It's already implemented. And for the custom elements and the Shadow DOM, it needs some polyfill, but you can see it's under developing, and I think we would be able to see that Firefox is all green in quite near future. And for Edge, it's a little bit lagging behind. It's implemented these templates and ES6 modules, but the custom elements and the Shadow DOM is kind of a bit considering still for them. But hopefully Edge will catch up as well. So that looks all promising. So if I were you, I would say, oh, I want it now. Please bring it to me. How can I start it with web components? The thing is that first we have to find the web components. Where can we find these existing web components? There are basically two places. First, you can go to webcomponents.org. From there, you can just search whatever components you would like to use, and you will get them. And also, there's another quite good place for finding your dream web components. That is Variant directory. The thing that we have also basically all the web components here, but we have also this nice feature which is called user rating, so that you can see what other developers thinking about the web components. And you can see here it's not only about the Variant elements, it's also Polymer elements and some elements from the community as well. And for example, the data picker elements I showed you in the beginning of the slides, you can go to Variant directory, and you would, if you search for Variant data picker, you would find these elements. And after you find these elements, you would first install these elements with this line here. You can find from the right, which is power install -- safe and your element's name. And for those who don't know yet, Power basically is a packaging tool for JavaScript or for front-end technologies. And after you have installed your elements or web components, the next thing is to import that into your application. How do you import that is to use this HTML import like link, rel import, and href to the path of your elements. So this is like why that HTML import matters for the web components technology. And after you have imported these elements, then you can, again, we see this slides again. So I lied to you because it's not that easy. Just put the tag there. First you have to find that, install that, and import that. Then later on you can just put that into your HTML or your application, and you will have this Variant data picker. Then what about me? That's what all I have talked about is front-end technology, like HTML, like JavaScript, like Power, whatever. How about Java guys? Nobody cares about me. What can I do? How can I use web components? Well, it depends on the situations. First, if you are using Variant components, then good luck. You don't need to do anything, because Variant released Variant 10. Not released, but it's alpha version. Beta version is not ready yet, but you can have some preview of that already. So that for each Variant element, there is a client-side web component, and there is a server-side Java class, so that you could just, in your normal Variant application, say you have a main view extends from a vertical layout, and inside there you can just add the data picker. So by this way, you are using the web components technology already in your application, because on the client side of this data picker is using that Variant data picker web components. And of course, Variant doesn't provide all the components you need. So for example, you would need some other web components which is not included in Variant framework or Variant platform. What could you do? So for example, we have this beautiful looking game card web components. Let's say for some reason I want to put some poker card into my application. How can I do that? And by the way, my application is written with Java. Well, the thing that Variant has this WebJar solution for this kind of a situation. Basically, WebJar are client-side web libraries that package it into a jar file. You don't need to worry about this. Let's see what does that really mean in practice. In practice, it means that first you want to use this game card. First, you find this game card WebJar from Maven repository, and then you can just put this dependency into your POM file, so that just like any other Maven dependency, then you have the WebJar for this game card available to you in your application. And next, you you create a Java class for this game card, which is also crazily easy that you just make your game card, name it any class name you want, and make it sure it extends from Polymer template, because internally Vaadin elements are using Polymer there, so that's why it's called Polymer template. And by extending this one, you have a server-side template for your client-side web components. And how are they connected? That first you have this tag annotation here, and the value for this tag is basically just the tag name of your web components. And then you have this HTML import. Again, this is like the path to your web components, like this. And after you have created your server-side component, and then you can just use it as any normal server-side component provided by Vaadin. For example, you can create your game card by new a game card template, and then you can get the client-side DOM here and set the attribute, for example, the symbol to be the star amount and the rank to be K. And then just add the game card to your view. By the way, how many of you have used the Vaadin 7 or Vaadin 8 before? Okay, not so many. That's good, so that I can introduce some this concept to many more new users. For those who are familiar with Vaadin, probably this sounds a bit weird to you. With Vaadin 10, there is a good news that we have DOM API available to you, so that you can just get the client-side DOM element and do whatever thing you can do with JavaScript natively. So this is something not available in previous Vaadin versions, which you probably can do with GUID, but that's pure client-side technology. But with Vaadin 10, now you can use this one on the pure server-side, pure Java. That's another very nice feature of Vaadin 10. So that's how you use a custom elements or web component that is not part of the Vaadin components. But of course, even web components don't provide every or all the possible elements you would need. So sooner or later, probably you will run into the situation that you have to create your own template or create your own web component. So how do you do that? For example, let's start with this hello world component. Basically, every application would start with this simple hello world concept to introduce this kind of a new thing. So let's say if we want to have this hello world tag here, the only thing it does is that to print out this hello world text. What can we do? How can we create this web component? Well, there are different ways. First, if you go with the native approach, as I mentioned, web components is a standard, so it doesn't require any libraries at all. All the browsers should just support that one. So you could go with this native approach with pure HTML and JavaScript. The thing is that first you define your template here, give it an ID and give it the UI here. We just have this hello world text. By the way, probably by this time you can see like why the template specification matters for web components. And the second thing is that you will register your custom element here by using this API custom elements.define. The first parameter is the tag name of your is the tag name of your web components here. It's hello world. And the second is the class, which extends from HTML elements. Basically, it's your custom elements class. And inside this constructor, you first call super to get something initialized. Then you attach the shadow DOM there. And after you have the shadow DOM, you can get this template here and clone that template and append that clone into your shadow root. So this is how you implement a very simple Hello World application. By the way, how many of you consider yourself as front-end developers? No, Java developers? Yeah, great. So probably not that many of you appreciate this kind of approach because it's JavaScript, HTML, probably not everybody likes this one, but it works. And then we have, how can we make this approach a bit more simple? Here we came this Polymer concept. Polymer is a library developed by Google, and it's kind of a syntax sugar library for creating web components. So basically it makes creating web components a bit easier, and it also provides some additional features which standard web components don't have. So with Polymer approach, things become a little bit easier, so that you define your, you start by doing some boilerplate code, which is called DOM module. So you first open a DOM module tag, and the ID here is the tag name of your custom element. Here again, hello world, and then you have this template. Again, it's hello world text, and after that you define your class here, which is hello world. Now remember that it doesn't extend from HTML element anymore. Now it extends from Polymer element. So Polymer internally doing something for you, so you don't need to do all those things which you saw in the previous slide. And then inside there, just provide a getter method which called is, and inside there again you return this hello world, which is the tag name. So this ID of DOM module and the this kind of return value from is getter, it should match. They should always be the same. And after that, you define this hello world by this getter and this hello world class. So I have to say that it's a bit easier than previous approach, but probably you can see that there are lots of boilerplate code. So all the thing here matters, I would say, this hello world. Other part is basically the same. Whatever component you create, you always have to go through those. So how can you make this a little bit more easier? Or what about me? How about Java developers? I don't want to write JavaScript code. I don't want to write HTML code. That's horrible to me. Is there a way that for me to use web components or create my own web components without having to write a single line of JavaScript? Is that possible? Yes, it is possible. Here we have Vardian, and Vardian basically means, is a Finnish word, means a female reindeer, and that's why we have this beautiful reindeer head as logo or as symbol here. And the slogan for Vardian nowadays is fight for simplicity, so we want to make things a bit more simple for developers. And Vardian provides this Vardian Designer plugin, which is available for Eclipse and as well as for IntelliJ, so that you can just download this Vardian Designer plugin, and then you can drag and drop visual designers for Vardian framework or for web components. I suppose we have a live demo here to show you how can you create a simple hello world without having to write a single line of JavaScript. But yeah, we can try again. I don't know.
I don't make any promises.
Oh, I wonder, could you turn some camera on so that you can show the screen from here?
Sorry,
some hack? No.
no.
Yeah. Anyway, let's see if I have better luck now.
nothing yet. Okay. Nope. Okay, let's try then.
Mhm.
Does this? You want to try with this instead?
Ah, this one might be
I
better.
don't know. Yeah, we
Yeah.
can try.
I can. Sorry about this kind of technical problems. I should remember to bring this kind of adapter myself.
Yeah. Okay, we can try with that one.
Yep.
Because this doesn't react.
Oh, nice. Great. So sorry, I have to hold you for a few more minutes to show you something. So first, let me go to presentation. Oh, sorry, I have to first mirror my screen. Yeah, still works, and I can go to presentation mode. What? Some demo effect. I don't see my project. Anyway, here is some bug, but let's try to create one. Hopefully it works. Okay, seems it works. So first, let's create a. I don't know what I have, but here, first you go with a file new, and you go with a flow template, and by this way you can create your own web components. And here there's a checkbox, create a Java companion file, and I will show you what does that mean later on. I'll just now have this checkbox checked, and we go with hello world. And yeah, now I have this view here, and they don't show everything here. I don't know why, but let's try. So I have this. Let's just drag this one to the canvas, this H1, and then we have a some heading one here. And since we just interested in creating a hello world template, we can say hello world, and it's done. As you can see from this source mode, we can see that basically this is everything you have seen in the previous slides with the Polymer approach. So you have this import, and you have this DOM module, and you have your template defined here. Inside there is just a H1 with hello world text, and this script to define your custom elements. Everything is there for you. What you have just done is oh, sorry, not head word, but the hello word. Sorry about the typo. You have this hello word. And how do you know it works? That you can just click here to preview in your browser without having to create any HTML file to verify, and it will just be here, and you can see it's hello world. And the thing, you might say this is nothing, it's just H1 with hello world. What makes it special is that if you inspect this element, you can see that you have a hello world tag here. So it's a web component now, and inside there it has a shadow DOM, and you have this H1 made inside your shadow DOM, inside this hello world template. So in this way, you create this your first hello world component without a single line of JavaScript or HTML. It just drag and drop, that's about it. And probably you see, okay, seems amazing, seems okay. What, can you show me something else? Yes, I can. So for example, here we can we can also put a button there to make it a bit more interesting. We can drop it here, not only inside the canvas, but also inside this hierarchy so that you can see where it goes. So now we have a variant button as well, and I don't see that. Yes, and we can go to the, again, the template. You can see we have this button here. But maybe it doesn't really mean anything if a button, if a user cannot click a button, the button is kind of useless. What can we do is that, I don't know if you have noticed or not. Where is it? Yeah, sorry. If you still remember or not, I told you that I checked that create a Java companion file, and you can see it created this hello world Java class for me. And what's there is that you have this Java class, which I also showed you during some slides. Now it has this tag as proper HTML import, and it extends from Polymer template. It even created you this template module. So everything is there for you, and you didn't write a single line of code. And let's go back to this hello world. Let's say if we want to add some click listeners with that button, what can we do? You can see that there's a checkbox for this voting button. We can just click that one, and something magic will happen. Now inside this hello world Java file, you have auto-generated code, which you have like a private button, voting button, and it has this ID annotation. It's injecting this voting button to your server-side Java class without you having to create it at all. So now let's create a constructor quickly. We can say that button.add click listener. This is pure server-side Java code, so should be very familiar to you. And we can use this beautiful lambda. And what we can do here is that, if you still remember, we can get the client-side DOM element, and we can just as any DOM element, we get the parent, and we can add children. Append child, and then we can, for example, create a label component and get the click. Let's say click, and since now we are using element, so we need to get this element. Oh no, so wrong. Maybe I was using the wrong label. Oh, so I was using the label from chart. How can I open this import? Oh, okay, now remove that one. Sorry, have to import the correct label class. And it would be this, yes, component label, and let's say the text is click, and let's get the element. So every time user click the hello button, you will get this label appended to your DOM element. Let's see if it works. And at this point, we would have to deploy that into our application, into, for example, Jetty, to see if everything works. Yes, so my Jetty started, and we can go to localhost. Oh, sorry, I have to, first of all, add it to the main view, of course. This hello world is basically just as any other server-side components. You can just use it in the good old way. Yes, now you have it. Let's click, and you can see we have the text there. And if you check the API, you can see that we have this hello world, and the label were added afterwards. So, yeah, I had something more, but he called me to stop, so I will stop here. But anyway, I think I showed you something I wanted to show you. Yeah. So that's all. Thank you so much for your attention.